Friday.
It's Friday.
No.
Gotta get down on Friday.
No.
Dun, 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 dun,
Copyright
dun,
strikes.
dun.
Copyright strikes. The night wears on without further incident, despite the great number of thoughts swimming inside my head. Come morning, there's only a hush, a strained sort of stillness, unlike the ones greeting me every morn. This one's uneasy, tight with anticipation, like a string stretched thin, merely waiting for the proper time to snap.
Merrily.
You making fun of me? Granted, it doesn't make my day any less pleasant, but the edge is there. As expected, the second I step out of my flat, it comes apart, broken by the voices of two squabbling adults, echoing from a floor below. The quiet was nice while it lasted. Shame.
What the hell were you thinking?
Ash?
I wasn't.
Isabella?
Ow! Could you let go?
Not a few seconds later, they both ascend the stairs, with Ashton pulling Isabella by her wrist. She struggles as she should, but his hold on her remains firm. Freeing herself means having to draw blood as he attempts to pry his hands off her with her other one, I can read, or using unnecessary force to push herself away. Neither of which is better than the other. One could potentially end in an accident, while the other means having to hurt him physically. She has the good sense to realize that, at least. However, it doesn't take the desperate edge in her voice. Okay. When she answers Ashton's temper with her own. So on they go, none the wiser to my presence.
Do you have any idea how much trouble you could get in?
That's why I'm asking you for help.
Is this what you've been doing these past 3 days? Because this doesn't make your case convincing, Isabella.
Rose died, Ash.
I know. Every single person in Luxburg knows. It's on the damn news. But that doesn't mean...
People are missing. Some of those are my friends. And BRC's just covering it all up.
You can't just barge into my office and expect me to do anything about it, right off the bat. This isn't a children's game, Isabella. We have procedures. We have to follow protocol. There's red tape all over this case for a reason. We sure as hell don't investigate things just because some stupid letter spooked us.
Ash, you have to believe me this time. If we don't do anything right now, more people will.
More people will.
It's been a whole week. This stupid letter prank is getting old real fast. I'm sick of it. It was funny the first time, not so much now.
You didn't think it was funny the first time.
You're the only one that can help me with this, Ash. Even Rebecca won't.
All right, you two are awfully loud. What's going on here?
Both of their heads snap up, almost in unison, a displeased frown on each of their faces. But this is a necessary interruption. What can they do? People still in their units have already taken interest in the commotion, with some taking a peek behind their curtains, while others are bold enough to creak open their doors, if only slightly. They don't keep it down. Pretty soon our landlady will show up. Getting a reprimand from her is the last thing I want to happen. First thing on a Friday morning, even if it is hardly my fault.
Well, if you want to continue this, you two better do it elsewhere. You're disturbing other people.
Don't worry, we're done here.
No, we aren't. Becca, I looked it up. I called them. I visited some of them and...
Which you shouldn't have done in the first place. Isabella, you're going to create more problems for us with what you're doing. A team has already been assigned to it. Leave it to us.
Your precious team is looking at it the wrong way. Becca, it's not just Rose. There are others.
That last bit strikes a chord, prods strongly at my memory. That vicious smile already etched deep inside my mind. The image appears clear enough that, at the mere mention of it, I stumble on my own question.
What do you mean?
The letter, Rebecca! It's not...
It's nothing. If there's really something going on because of that dumb letter, none of us would be standing here. We've all read it, haven't we? But Rebecca's alive, Zach's alive, I'm alive. So for the last time, this isn't a curse.
I suppose Zach is still alive.
There's a murderer on the loose, and your coworkers happen to be the victims. Give it a rest, Isabella. It's too early for this shit.
Don't you think that's too much for a coincidence?
Not so much. Most serial killers follow a pattern. I'll tell you about it some other time. And anyway, coincidence or not, the point is, civilians like you aren't supposed to get involved. You're putting yourself in danger.
Do your job. I wasn't chasing after.
Will the both of you slow down and stop arguing for a minute? What's this about your coworkers, Belle?
Becca, please don't tell me now you believe this shit.
Sure, in a heartbeat, I'll agree with Ashton.
Because you love him.
That's how it's always been. Besides having a very good point, really, they're the very same ones he'll make every time I ask too many questions. The fact of the matter is, he wants to hear from me right now. What he wants to hear from me is far from what I've been sensing these past few days. It doesn't matter what Isabella or I believe on our own. Something odd has been happening around me, and that letter she picked up is the heart of this.
I'd do the bottom one.
Yeah. But however I respond to the question, in their faces, only one of them will be pleased with it. We are gonna make the man we love unhappy.
He doesn't love us back anyway. Let's get over it.
I was gonna put in a joke that I'm completely unqualified to make and say, that's marriage. But I'm completely unqualified to make that joke. Yeah.
Do it. Ashton in particular won't be too happy to hear it. Imagining the look his face doesn't take too much effort. What?
Imagining the look on his face doesn't take too much effort.
His entire posture shifts the moment my reluctance shows. Shoulders tensing, brows furrowing, eyes gaining a sharp edge. He's already bracing himself from the disappointment. And it will be a disappointment. Not in a million years did I ever believe I'll be saying this either.
I might have seen her. The woman Belle's been telling us about. The one she said she saw in the attic.
Both of them stare at me like I've grown an extra head. And for a few moments, Ashton looks as if he's about to have a fit. A pause treads at his heels after, a silence thick enough, one can almost hear a pin drop.
You're kidding, right?
Do I look like I'm joking?
Really, Becca? Not funny.
Ash, I'm not lying. Why would I lie about this? It's been this way since the film fest. The past few days have been really odd since we read that letter. Last night, you mentioned Zach hasn't been acting like himself. Maybe you should ask him, too.
Or maybe you're all just feeling under the weather.
I'm not sick. Don't you think I'd know that by now?
Becca, you're starting to sound like Scaredy Cat. Give me a break.
Why don't you?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, you two.
Isabella's voice cuts sharply through the conversation, abruptly putting an end to the brewing argument.
It's all my fault. This is all my fault.
Yeah.
I was only hoping I could fix this before any of you. I'm sorry for dragging you all into this.
She breathes in, deep, steadying, and in that moment something falls behind her eyes as she looks away.
I'll fix this. I promise.
A quiet resolve. The same one I saw in her that night from 3 days ago. But this time it burns brighter. Even Ashton wavers at its sight when she looks him straight in the eyes, gaze unflinching. Gradually, his grip on her wrist loosens.
Belle, there's nothing to fix. The problem is...
Just this once, Ash.
Her voice, though small and lacking any force, stops him. Along with it, every sound, every noise dies around us, a hush descending as if the world is waiting for her words.
You don't have to come with me. But if I don't do anything, I am going to regret it.
She lays a hand atop his. Gentle. Pleading. Almost intimate, if one does not consider the circumstances we found ourselves in.
Please.
Ashton will never tell a soul, will never admit it to himself, even to himself, but it is in that short second that his own resolve breaks. The moment the hard edge in his eyes softens and he relinquishes his hold on her, letting his hand fall limply to his side. Wordlessly, Isabella steps back and runs off, leaving only a muttered thanks and a small, lackluster smile. Only after the last of her footsteps fade away does Ashton move, breaking the silence with one of his sharp exhales before reaching up to pinch the bridge of his nose in a gesture of frustration and surrender.
Did you really have to tell her that?
What do you want to hear from me then? That everything's fine?
No, I want all of you to stop putting these ideas in her head. None of it is helping. Never mind. Don't worry about her. I'll bring her back here.
He's already poised to leave when my own instinct takes over. I reach for him, gripping his elbow with the same unyielding grip, the action prompted by voices whispering at the back of my mind. He's already made it clear he's not going to believe me, but he deserves a word of caution. Who knows where all this will take us? How all this will end? He shouldn't be caught off guard, beliefs notwithstanding.
Ash, I know you don't believe in those things she's saying. And you know me. I'm less inclined to believe in those things as you do. But I've seen something. There's something strange going on here. You don't have to buy it. If you don't want to listen to me, fine. But please, try to hear her out. It's bad enough that Isabella goes off like this without telling anyone. I'm just worried something might happen to her if she keeps at it. Talk to her, okay?
As if she trusts me enough for that.
Doesn't the fact that she approached you first about this, instead of me, already say a lot?
A different kind of trust, granted implicitly and never spoken. Sometimes too big, too fragile to last. He falls silent for a long moment as he turns it over in his mind. In the end, all he manages to offer is a small nod before he departs.
That was a big nod.
Yeah, and a promise to, at least, listen to her, without the teasing or the jibes. A favor for me and the least he could do for her. This is as much as I can do for him as well, until I've understood what's happening myself. Tonight, hopefully, where this all started will provide the answers I'm looking for. Except the whole thing's off to a bad start, and all of a sudden, whatever Isabella claims dwelling in this mansion comes the least of my concerns. Severely underdressed is a total understatement to describe how I look. Cars worth more than my own apartment and childhood home combined line the mansion's front yard. Men and women decked out in their best also flock near the entrance.
It's okay. Hannah's gonna tell Becky that she's adorable anyway.
Most are eager for the festivities to start, while some are simply idling about, enjoying the warm afternoon sun before it sets. But once the woman standing at the front porch speaks, their undivided attention immediately shifts to her. Presumably Miss Wright from the confident manner she holds herself among present company. This despite keeping a far simpler appearance than the rest of their own guests, or not having her husband beside her. A trait worthy of utmost admiration at best. At worst, she's the envy of every woman, the subject of every gossip in Luxbourne.
Welcome everyone.
And Mum said we could be good friends? I can't even picture myself mingling with the kind of guests she has. Though I admit, she does seem familiar now that I've seen her this close. Memories of sitting in a vanity not mine, being dressed in clothes too fancy for my tastes. They flit briefly in my mind until her cheerful tone rises above the buzz of her enraptured audience again.
Please make yourselves at home.
I wish I can share her enthusiasm, really. But being surrounded by all this extravagance, for the lack of a better term, merely makes me dread how the rest of the night might go. Also knowing there might be some truth to what lies inside the place helps drive the unease further by a notch. Ashton, on the other hand,
Be careful with Shirley, alright?
for someone who abhors gatherings like this, he already seems right at home, standing with an air too lackadaisical as he watches the valet drive off with his bloody car.
Can't you at least act with a bit more shame?
Becca, if I find a single scratch on Shirley, there will be hell to pay.
Those guys know what they're doing. They're handling cars worth more than your precious Shirley.
My disdain has likely shown beyond the tone of my voice, quite possibly in the form of a grimace. He chuckles, a rare moment where mirth and amusement danced across his features. I don't know what mirth means. Neither do you. Great.
It's not, I should know it, but my brain's dead.
Okay. Try as I might to pull up a stern glare, I can't help but join him instead. Look at that smile, it's so creepy. There's something in the lightness of it, in how easy this kind of interaction falls into place, when we don't let feelings get too involved, in spite of being stuck in a situation we're not fond of. It brings back memories. I can't stop looking at that smile.
No, sorry, I'm not laughing because my thoughts are going, it's like, oh, mirth, it's one of the gifts that the 3 wise men gave to baby Jesus on the death. Isn't it? I don't know.
It's myrrh.
Shush.
However, the moment doesn't hold. All of a sudden, Ashton grows quiet.
Chief?
An odd expression flashes momentarily across his face, though he blinks it away before I can figure out what it is exactly.
Lee.
Ashton, what's...
Sorry, Becca, I just saw someone I need to catch up with. Longtime friend.
Couldn't you just say coworkers? It doesn't help that he isn't even making an effort to spare a glance my way when he answers. Instead, they're focused at some point in the crowd, his gaze darting between people walking past us until a small frown forms in his face.
Oh, wait, Ash, what about...
This won't be long. Be careful while I'm gone, okay?
I meet the smile he hastily throws my way with a frown of my own. What does he mean by that? Before I can ask already, he has turned his back from me and is walking away without a single explanation whatsoever. In some desperate effort, I try to catch up to him, if only to know what warranted this sudden departure and his odd warning at the end.
Hey, be careful! About what exact...
Only for my attempts to be interrupted by a muffled ringing from my poppet. Poppet? Hello, Poppet. From my pocket. Mom's cheerful voice greets me as soon as I answer. I thought
Hello.
I thought that was so cute that we said it together. That's why I'm laughing.
Yes, I'm at the party already, Mom.
Oh, good. I forgot how her non-accent sounded.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll find out.
I'll say hi to her if I can.
We won't.
The conversation itself doesn't last long.
Okay, my dear.
Yeah, I can't really remember her voice, but I remember I hated it. Just a simple hello, a reminder to enjoy the party, and to send their regards to their old student. But when the call ends and I get to look up, Ashton's already heading inside. With a sigh and admittedly a little disappointment, I tuck my mobile back into my pocket and follow after him.
So much for date.
Aww. Even with familiar company, this is somehow shaping up to be a terrible evening.
And inside we go.